Hey everyone, welcome to my show. Be sure to hit like, follow, and subscribe on YouTube and Twitch for all my exclusive content. Hello again, Star Wars players. Back with another video here today for you. This was a game link that was submitted to me by a teammate of mine. I actually volunteered to do a review for him. One of the cool things we're seeing now in Star Wars is the next generation. A lot of us have been playing this game so long, since the mid 90s, late 90s, when we were teenagers, that now, there's a number of people who have moved on. They've had children of their own. They're teaching their kids how to play this game. So we're seeing the next generation. Very cool thing. Some of us way back in the day. I started when I was about 17, senior year of high school, learning the game, kind of stuff like that. Some people were younger. They went with their parents to tournaments. The parents played, whether competitively or casually, just to keep an eye on their kids. But now we're seeing, like I said, the next generation of kids playing. And we've got the last couple of events, some live events. We've had players bring their 8, 10, 12-year-old kids to the events to play and compete. And some of them have done pretty well. And soon we'll be adding another player to that list. So this is a Jawa format game. The new Jawa Cup going on now. I think this is round 1 of the Jawa Cup we're looking at here. We've got Deadbody playing I Want That Map against Wolvenclaw, who is playing clones, it looks like. So on paper, map is probably slightly favored. But there are enough ways that each side can interact with the other one. It's going to come down to winning a couple of battles. And who can pull it off more? How much space does the light side deck have versus the dark side deck? Map usually has, the finalizer and guys and commands and maybe a secondary ship. And then there's usually one or, clones. Some of them don't play any space. Some of them do play 1 or 2 of the matching guys. And it looks like we see the admirals in here. So probably going to have some of the cruisers as well. So could certainly be an interactive game. The tricky part here is going to be keeping map on the 0 side. So it's going to come down to who we're picking for an agent here. Rex is the only person he has 2 copies of, so I think that's who he chooses. Oh, he's got 2 Codys as well. 2 Codys and 2 Rexes. I think Wolvenclaw is the perspective we're looking at this game from. And he does go ahead and pick Rex. I have no issues or concerns about that. And we'll go through what some of these cards do here in just a second. There's what I've come for to get the sight, get bow. And he's going to go ahead and start the anti-beatdown effect. Okay. All right, so let's take a second here. We'll just pause the game. Let's go through these decks and these objectives. Map's been around for a while. This is the Episode 7 First Order objective. It's gone through a few versions. This is the current version we're at now, which is where we've been for a little while. Opponent can reveal a unique character with ability, except Luke or a Jedi, from reserve deck to make them a resistance agent. If they don't opt to do that, then it defaults to Luke, and Luke loses immunity to attrition. So in this case, Luke not in this clones deck, so he had to pick somebody else. It's also be beneficial to most times to pick somebody else other than Luke, unless you're playing like EPP Luke, who has no immunity to attrition anyway. So he's gonna no Episode 7 or no Dark Jedi except Episode 7. So only really Snoke or possibly the Episode 7 Emperor. No Maul, no Vader, none of that stuff to worry about. Flipping if First Order characters control 2 battlegrounds and the Resistance agent is not present at a battleground site. So again, not wanting to pick somebody who's going to be in space to be your Resistance agent. The flip side lets him do some manipulation where you have a First Order leader. They have to use or lose a force to draw a card for Battle Destiny. That includes redraws as well. So if you draw a card and you're like, I don't like that one, let me Jedi 11 redraw that. You got to spend another force to redraw that card. Unless BB-8 on table, all their force retrieval is canceled. So they get 0 force retrieval unless they've got BB-8 on table. And if Kylo's on the table, during your turn, you can stack an interrupt from your loss pile on I will finish what you've started. And once per turn, you can play that interrupt as if it's from your hand, and then you put it out of play. So kind of similar to a watch your step type mechanic, where you're playing you're moving cards from your lost pile and using them a second time, or perhaps just for the first time, if you've already just lost it through some other means, and then putting it out of play after you've used it to keep you from just looping the same card over and over again. I Finish What You Started lets you stack an interrupt from hand to cancel a just drawn weapon destiny at Kylo's site. Doesn't have to be targeting Kylo, just Kylo has to be there. Kylo's power +1 for each card that's stacked there. Usually you can get 3 or 4 cards there and get him a nice little power bonus. And then once per game you can deploy from reserve deck a lightsaber. Usually it's how you get Kylo's lightsaber out. Bow to the First Order's gone through some revisions here. Currently, it's just once per game. Get Finalizer. Nice, good. Once per character. When you deploy Hux, Kylo, Phasma, or Snoke to an Episode 7 battleground is the restriction on this. A lot of people would like to see a similar restriction be applied to I Must Be Allowed to Speak, but for the time being, that hasn't been adjusted. But you can take any card into hand from use pile and reshuffle. This deck should be running all 4 of those characters, and will likely get them out fairly quickly. Hux lets you take an agent into hand, or a trooper into hand, which is usually when you pull Phasma, and then play Phasma to then get another card. The shuttle pulls Kylo if you do that whole thing, and then Snoke makes his appearance at some point in time there. And the other effect that he's chosen to start is the anti-beatdown effect. During the damage segment of a battle your opponent initiated. Now that's the restriction there. Your opponent has to be initiating the battle against you. So if you blindly initiate a battle and things go wrong because they've got a bunch of interrupts and tricks and they exclude your guys or remove them, hit them with weapons and then remove them, you can get blown out in your own battle you initiate. But if they come down and they're trying to beat down you, this is, your get out of trouble, get out of jail free card, basically. Cancels all remaining battle damage after you forfeit everything. So kind of, sort of like a Gick, but only works in battles that your opponent initiates against you. Other side of the coin, we've got the clones objective. Not 1,000%. I know the mechanics of the clone objective. I have not played with it personally. I've played against it a couple of times. Some of the interrupts and things are a little annoying because they do protect against various in-battle paths of removal. So, can't play non-Episode 1 cards with ability. So you're limited to just Episode 1 cards with ability. You can still play droids and stuff like that, so you can play whatever version of 3PO or R2 I guess you would want, or any other droids. Or empty ships. Reflections 2 objectives. Target Anakin instead of Luke. Your destiny is suspended, so bring him before me. And Agents of the Black Sun kind of getting reworked here. Jedi gain the pilot skill, so all Jedis are pilots. They don't add anything to power, but they're pilots. Okay. Episode 1 sites are immune to no escape, so your generic sites you're playing over here are immune to no escape. No escape giving them a deploy modifier to make all their guys deploy cheaper and get a additional force activation. At end of opponent's turn, if you occupy more battlegrounds than them, they lose a force. Okay. That's just for remainder of game. So anytime you occupy more battlegrounds than them at the end of their turn, they lose a force. And then if Grievous will run and hide is stacked here, flip your objective. Unless Grievous is alone at a battleground. Oh, there is a possibility we might see Grievous in this deck because you are allowed to play him. And he is a general who does kind of fit into command and as alternative characters. So he might actually be in this deck. Grievous will run and hide. Deploys on a battleground. Jedi deploy. Well, the clone Jedi deploy -1 here. I forget the exact name of this icon. Forgive me. If you just want a battle, or just force drained here, relocate this card to your objective. If opponent just won a battle anywhere, they can relocate this card to an Episode 1 battleground. So you win a battle anywhere, or force drain at that location, You get to move it to the objective, which then flips your objective, possibly. If they win a battle anywhere, they move it somewhere else, move it back to a site or something, which would then flip you back because yeah, that's the flip conditions. There's a lot of math on the flip side of this. This is one of the more complicated objectives in terms of mechanics, or at least the way it's worded. The mechanic itself isn't very complicated, but the way it's worded can be a little bit. While this side up, 4 strains are +1, where you have a clone with a Jedi or Padawan. So you need a clone and either a Jedi or Padawan, 4 strain +1. Okay, that's pretty cool. X is the number of battlegrounds your clone, Republic, Army cards occupy. If you just initiated a battle, peek at the top card of your reserve deck or used pile, take it into hand, or put it on the bottom of your reserve deck. So look at the top card of your reserve deck. If you don't like it, you can put it to the bottom. Or you want to move it and rearrange things like, that's a 6. I want to draw that for Battle Destiny. Let me move that to the bottom so then I can, depending on how many cards you have. There's some manipulation you can do here. You can try and set your destinies up to do some cool things. Or you can look at the top card of your used pile. So if you were perhaps tracking something, or you don't want to move cards around in your reserve deck, and you know something's in your force pile, or you went from your force pile to your used pile, now you can look at it and take it into hand. Or move it to the bottom of your reserve deck to then get an extra destiny if you want to do something else, shooting Battle Destiny adders, whatever the case may be. So lots of manipulation that you can do there in a lot of different ways. Then, if X is greater than 1, meaning you occupy 2 battlegrounds with your clone army cards, retrieve a clone card into hand. Okay, so you initiated a battle, you peeked, moved a card. Now if you've got a second site, retrieve a force into hand, or retrieve a card into hand. And then if it's greater than 2, meaning you've got 3 battlegrounds with clone people, your clone may make a regular move using land speed for free to the battle location. So your guy nearby, you can move Rex or Cody or somebody over, important, or, maybe a guy who's got a gun or something like that. You can move him over into the battle that you just initiated, which can certainly cause some things to, swing. And it's free. It has to be using land speed, but it's free. Okay. And then as far as effects go, we get cloning cylinders, which lets you stack a non-unique clone from your lost pile face down during your draw phase. At the start of your next turn, you flip it over so it's face up, and then you can deploy stuff off of it that's face up, like it's from your hand. Kind of like a Den of Thieves or a Strategic Reserves or something like that. Galactic Republic Navy is a very cool card. Came out in set 21 that I like very much. Unique clone capital ships are deploy -1, immunity to attrition +1. Once per turn, you can reveal any clone ship to take from hand to take an episode 1 pilot character from reserve deck or vice versa. So it's a matching thing for any episode 1 pilot and any clone icon starship. So that could be the cruisers. As your Angel, which is Anakin's ship, also has that. So you can do a little mixing and matching there. There's probably a few others that also probably have that. Maybe Plo Koon's ship offhand, not 100% sure. But there's probably a handful of ships that you can mix and match with that, depending on how you want to build your deck. We've got another Pathetic Life Form and Security Control. So unique Republic characters of ability less than 4. It's going to be a couple of your clones, right? A bunch of your clones and your admirals. Their ability less than 4, so they get forfeit +1. Nice little touch there. Also blocking Nabrin and Ellis, restricting those nicely. Once per turn, you can get a docking bay. That definitely helps. During opponent's turn, if Jar Jar or your episode 1 leader, a couple of clones are episode 1 leaders, occupies an Episode 1 battleground, you can activate a force. So getting an extra force during their turn can also be helpful for letting you play interrupts and things like that. And then Walkling just for the extra force activation and possibly uploading an effect. We'll see if that comes into play later. Alright, that was a long intro. Hopefully everybody's got at least an understanding of what each of these decks is kind of sort of trying to do now and how they work. We're going to have lots of clones doing cool things. Clones have some really interesting interrupts that can really change the flow of a battle. Map also has some interesting characters and interrupts. They're going to be making some used pile searches, weapon swings and things with Kylo. You're going to see Dr. E most likely as well, trying to remove people from battle, really trying to do some overflow and things like that, excluding people, killing characters, removing them, all that kind of fun stuff. So if you're playing this, we're playing from the light side point of view. That's how we're looking at this. Space is probably where you're going to want to try to set up first. It's the safer of the two arenas. Map doesn't have a whole lot that it can interact with in space. Just the finalizer, which is fairly expensive to get out, and maybe one or two other ships. He's got Jakku already. That's going to save him having to deploy a guy here. He got Kylo in hand, so he doesn't even have to use the shuttle either. This is the new Kylo. When in battle alone, total power is +3. Battle Destiny draws may not be added, so while he's alone, he's power 9. Total Battle Destiny, Battle Destiny draws may not be added, so nobody can draw more than one Battle Destiny. And if he's defending, once per game, he can upload an interrupt except Gick. So he can go get any interrupt you want. You can get a sniper, you can get a you are beaten, you can get a force field. Now it doesn't say, it's not a just action, so you can't like just go get something, so that way, if they battle you, they're going to get to shoot first. So getting a force field might help the second weapon or something like that, but you can't go get like a stunning leader or something to exclude people or anything like that. So he's got to be in the battle alone, and then it's a top level action in the weapons phase. So that may limit what are the best options for Kylo to pull, but I mean, he's pretty solid power there by himself. You won't see it reflected in Gem because it's only while in battle alone he's adding to total power. So Kylo's only, power 6 himself. He does get +1 from the sight. So that's going to give him 7. And then if you were to battle him, you'll see the number change from 7 to 10 during the battle. Certainly a fast start getting a used pile pull with Bow. He's also going to get Kylo's lightsaber. Oh, he had Kylo's lightsaber in hand. Okay. So a very solid start. Wolvenclaw here is activating 9. Clones have to come down in multiples. Very few of them do much by themselves. Usually you need 2 or 3 guys together to really be able to do a lot with them. And the fact that Kylo gets interrupts, he only has 1 force save, but I mean, you'd have to drop 2 or 3 characters to come after him. Probably not the best course of action for turn 1 here. If you've got Walkling, if you have an option, if you have a projection of a Skywalker in your deck, just use Walkling and go get it, and then make this drain -1. Obviously, also pulling Battle Plan to help make him have to spend force to do that force drain. You're appropriately costing it then, because right now it's like pay 3 to drain for 3. That's pretty good. If you're paying 3 but you're only draining for 2, he's only getting 11 force. It might at least make him think twice about it and think more about what else he wants to do that turn. Is it really worth the 3 for 2 trade-off? If it's 3 for 3, you're almost always going to go for that one. 3 for 2, you can start, it could go either way. It's kind of an on-the-fence kind of thing. I don't know if Wolvenclaw has a projection in his deck. Just saying that'd be an option to do right now to kind of avoid this situation for the time being. He's got the docking bay in hand. We'll see if he's got another docking bay in his deck that he can pull. He gets once per turn, download a Camino site or a clone icon Battleground, so he's going to get the Camino 2-0. It's a nice activation jump. And now we're going to see him pull another docking bay as well. Now it looks like he's also got a bunch of Whisa's, the battle planes, and Boss Nash Chamber in here, and I thought I saw a Famba earlier. So it could be interesting to see some unique mechanics here. Looking through the deck right now, I don't see a projection. Yep, there's a Gungan Energy Shield, so we're probably going to have some Fambas and stuff in here. He does have the Cruiser, the Endurance here, and he's got Admiral Killian. Could just match for this and try and go to space early, but... Or he could just activate and draw a bunch of cards, right? He is going to reveal the Navy. And we're going to go with Killian aboard as a pilot for a combo of 7 total force. And they're going to go over here to Geonosis. Starships are power +1 there as well. You can move as a react, that's not the big deal, but force draining would, at that location, would relocate and flip the objective, let them start doing some stuff there. This overall, really solid thing. It's power 7 base power. It's immune to less than 3. But then you've got Killian aboard. He's adding 2 to power. Plus, unless with Boba Fett, your total power is +2 here. So Boba Fett's not there. So you just went from 7 to 9 to 11. Plus 1 more from the system gives you 12. Really strong. Piloting a capital starship, it's immune to less than 4. So it just went from less than 3 to less than 4. Plus you've got the other card, that the combo card here, the Navy card. Adds 1 more to their immunity to attrition. So now it's immune to less than 5. So you've got 12 power, immune to less than 5 for 7 force. It's pretty strong combo. Also, once per game, if it is about to be lost... Oh, the starship. Once per game, if it's about to be lost, may relocate your characters aboard to a related exterior site. So if they did come down and they were to battle you and they were to draw high enough to beat your immunity to attrition and the forfeit of your pilots, and you're like, crap, I have to lose the ship, you could lose the ship and then trigger his ability and everybody aboard could evacuate to a related site, which can also be very helpful to save some cards. His base forfeit is 5. He's getting a +1 from this, so he actually would be forfeit 6 as well. So 12 power, immune to less than 5, an admiral who could play rebel leaderships to add destiny or limit them to destiny. Really strong. At this point in time, probably just want to draw a card or 2. Try and see what else you can find here. He does save a force for the grabber. Solid turn. Obviously, it's going to stink a little bit, eat in a couple of force here. Actually, this is only a drain of 2. For some reason, I thought that was a drain +1 site. I think this is the drain +1 site. Yeah, that's the drain +1 site. This is the power +1 site. My mistake. It's only a drain of 2. So he does pay 3 for 2. Would be even better with the projection, because then it's 3 for 1, and that's less likely to even happen. Deadbody just gonna draw, looking for a bunch of stuff now, not pulling any other locations. He just paid to drain, and now he's just gonna draw up to 14, which is the new 12. Light side's gonna activate. They're gonna pay to drain, so they can complete this and relocate and flip. Now he did lose an Isla earlier. That kind of stinks a little bit. He also lost the Gungan Energy Shield off the top, which does feel like it's an important... might be an important part of the deck. We get a clone pilot from hand. Okay, so now we have a clone pilot, so he's got an extra pilot aboard for extra power and forfeit. Still not doing anything here because you need a clone with a Jedi or Padawan to trigger any of those mechanics. Probably just going to put 3PO out. Yep, good play. Can cycle a card back. Okay. Now he put back Too Close for Comfort. And now he's probably just going to move into the draw phase. Yep, and go pull some cards. Now he plays the leadership here. He's going to grab Kenobi. I might have kept drawing a little bit. Was it something in there with the Wisa? All right, the Boss Nass was in there. Okay. I might have drawn a couple more cards first. If you're going to draw 4 or 5 cards anyway, might be worth it to draw before you play the interrupt. I mean, unless he knew, again, I don't know his deck composition completely, unless he knew when he looked earlier that there weren't any other, that there really shouldn't be anybody in his force pile. His admirals and generals, for the most part, were in his reserve deck. He knows he's not going to draw anybody else. So he knows he's not going to draw anybody else, so might as well just go ahead and, play the interrupt and go from there. But usually you'd want to keep drawing a few more cards unless you're certain that there's nothing there. And everything you'd want to pull would be in your reserve deck. All right, so no force drain this turn. He does have the finalizer. There's Captain PV. Now his first order leaders have 2 battlegrounds, so he is going to flip. That'll let him stack a card, which he'll do just to make, because he can. And now he'll draw an extra card or 2. Light side also not going to force drain here. They can see that the Admiral and the ship are both in the reserve deck. We're going to get out the Boss Nash Chamber and the battle planes. Kenobi's going to come down to the battle planes. So both sides kind of just ignoring each other, setting up battle plan. All right, let's stop here and take a look at this for a second. Now, he doesn't have any barrier protection, so I understand not wanting to go right after Kylo. All right, so as I was saying, sorry, had to take a second. You've got a pretty formidable force here, especially if you still had the 2 close for comfort, which maybe that wouldn't have been the best card to put back earlier, because what that card says is if your character was just targeted by a weapon, they have to use 2 force or cancel the targeting. So, Garrett or Deadbody so far has typically been only saving a 1 force, whether it's for a grabber or for a barrier. He used the force on the grabber already, so it could be for a barrier. But if you battle into him and you've got the 2 close for comfort, he's not able to swing. So that could be certainly something that could help here. If you drop Obi and he barriers Obi, and then you drop the 3 clones, Cody here says, while in battle at a site with Rex or 2 clones, cancel a just draw on Battle Destiny. And then you've got 2 other clones. This one has a weapon built in, and this guy helps your guys move around, also gets extra forfeit, and he can cancel and redraw your Destiny draw there, if necessary. You could still drop these guys and potentially battle, knowing that, if you had the 2 close for comfort still, you can cancel his swing. Cody can cancel the Battle Destiny, potentially. And you can get some, your Destiny goes through, possibly you break his immunity, possibly you just get some overflow. Now, granted, again, he is power +3, so he is going to be power 11. But even if you just outpower him by a couple, and if you cancel his Destiny, you're not losing anything back. So chances are maybe Kenobi doesn't get barriered right away, and then, he barriers Cody. Could also change things, but then you still deploy a bunch of other guys, and, if you can get access to a weapon from Kenobi's text or a blaster or something like that. And obviously top here has a built-in weapon. Target hit of Destiny +2 greater than defense value. Now, this card here does let him stack a card to cancel a weapon Destiny from hand, so probably not going to hit Kylo. You also have Rebel Ambush here. Each of your troopers is power +1 and immune to attrition, so you can get extra power from the clones and make them all immune. You know, with the energy shield lost, like going here, okay, now you're basically even, right? Well, no, they're ahead. They're draining for 2, and they're draining for 2 because of the finalizer's text. And you're draining for 2 and draining for 1. So they're ahead of you, and in terms of damage output, and they've put less power on the table than, or less cards on the table than you have to do it. You know, the clone deck has a lot more cards already on table, so they're already behind, and now it's, you know, you're losing the damage race 4-3, and you've just committed a bunch of your best characters to a site your opponent isn't at. So I probably, especially with the Hujix also in hand too, I probably would have gone after Kylo here with these guys. Let's clear this site out. Let's flip the objective back. Let's draw out the barrier. Worst case scenario, next turn comes down. You know, maybe he's got a sniper. Maybe he's got a couple other guys. He's getting more use pile pulls. You know, he's got 14 force to work with. That's a lot. Sure, he could drop 4 or 5 guys. But you do have the Hujix, so it's not like you're in a tremendously bad spot if that's what happens. You do lose some of your characters, but I feel like if you're just going to try and outrace him, you're going to lose. And if you commit all of these guys here to the battle planes, then who do you have left to fight here with? Now, maybe if you're going to move over and take the fight to space, this could get a little more interesting. But again, he's got more cards in hand. He's got a possibility of another ship that he could deploy. You know, there could be admirals. We don't know. Most likely, you know, you've got Hux. You probably have maybe a Thrawn. Maybe, you know, I don't know, Ozzel or somebody who could also be in here, depending on what other ships the map deck is running. Most likely you're going to have a couple of commands, though. So I feel like the way that this game is setting up, Wolvenclaw's putting himself, he's playing it very safe, very cautiously, where I'm just going to set up my damage and do my, oh, there's the command. So he just drew his last card from his force pile, didn't save any force for the grabber, and let his opponent command into a Hux. There's a tiny mistake there, because obviously grabbing that command would be very important in this game. And Deadbody does take advantage of that. He does get to activate the one from another pathetic life form. Drain for 2. Where are you looking for me goes. Oddball goes. Drain for 2 again. There goes the Too Close for Comfort and Awisa. So he's already down to 20 cards face down, while his opponent has 33. And there's not a lot in the lost piles. But we're looking at, you know, the whole just mountain of cards that Lightside puts on the table in this deck. Now we get Grievous out by himself, which flips the objective back. And again, with a lot of the best characters committed already to this site, it makes you wonder, what does Lightside have that they can go after Darkside with? And the way that this build is kind of set up, I'm thinking probably not too much. And looking at his hand right now, I mean, we just grabbed Rex, but all we have is the clone pilot to go with it. So we get a couple of drains. Maybe he'll try and cycle a card back, pick up that Ahsoka. Nope. Now he drops Rex. That flips the objective back to the 0 side. But again, all his best guys are just piled up here. And now he's getting out-drained even more. There's Anakin. So he's going to draw a couple cards. So, you know, drain for 2 and 1. Draw a couple cards, save some force. He'll play the it could be worse. to reduce the drain of 2 down to 0. That's a good move. Save him some cards there. He's still going to lose 3 more force here from these other drains. Yep, Tafamba's not doing any good anymore. Now, he does throw away the clone pilot as well. It makes you wonder for a second here. Let's go look at this guy. While piloting, he draws 1 if unable to otherwise. Adds 2 to power, 1 to defense value. With the Acclimator, adds 1 to attrition. So yeah, it would be able to, it's not immune to anything. Well, it'd be immune to less than 1 because of, oh, it's not unique, so no, it wouldn't even be immune to less than 1. So I would have no immunity. Trying to pair this up with the Acclimator, just thinking like, could we put these together and like move over or something in front of the finalizer? You have decent power, makes him less likely to want to battle into you. But without having any immunity on the ship, you're probably just going to end up forfeiting these guys anyway. And at least by losing him, he can stack him on the cloning cylinders and kind of bring the guy back and forth. And he does lose a free ride off the top too. So, okay, we got a Zuckuss and Misthunter as an alternate ship with Grand Admiral Thrawn V. Okay. And now he'll no escape to take the barrier back into hand, which is now going to make it a little more difficult for Lightside to go interact anywhere. They're going to have to move in front or deploy in front and just know you're not battling and you're going to get battled back. So Lightside definitely in a rough spot here. Gets the it could be worse back. Smart move, tracking that around. That'll keep negating a drain of 2. Oh, he's just going to go ahead and concede. I guess he realizes at this point he doesn't really have... He's too far behind, and he's thinking he doesn't have a lot else that he can do. I probably would have played it out a couple more turns unless he had to go for some reason. If only thing just to get even more of the experience of, of playing around with things, could you drop Anakin over here? Check what's in your reserve deck, see what you got to work with. With these 2 cards, maybe Anakin can go kill Grievous. He does have the barrier, right? But at least you put him in front of him, make him deploy some other stuff. Something interesting could happen. You can negate the drain of 2 again because he already used the grabber. So you can keep looping that around for a while. That'll buy you some time. I guess the question then be is time to do what? Because if you don't have enough other, you're going to go chase him with your ship, move off of Geonosis, and just start chasing him around in space while he continues to just drain away and you continue to negate it and you're already behind. Like, again, you can drag the game out for a while, which as a younger player, I would encourage you to do just to get the experience of playing in late game situations, to get used to finding ways to extend the game, giving your opponent the opportunity to make mistakes. Maybe an opening presents itself. Maybe you think of something that, oh, wait a minute, I didn't realize I could do that. I should have done that 2 turns ago, but maybe I can still do something and it'll work out. I think in this particular case, this is where the game went. This is what dictated the pace of the game right here. So deploying everybody here instead of in front of Kylo kind of set things up. Honestly, I probably wouldn't have even have put this site out. I would have just gone to their sites, especially once you lost the energy shield as one of the first cards that went off the top. Like, setting this up, not necessarily as interesting. So hopefully there's some decent takeaways here. And obviously players, it just takes time, it takes practice, takes experience. There's a lot of decks out there. You're not going to know how to play against all of them. I don't know how to play against all of them. I might have recommended something right here, and people are like, what? Why'd you do that? That's the beauty of this game. We're all still learning all the time. So thank you very much for watching. Hope you enjoyed the video. Feel free to leave any comments or questions you have down below, and see you next time.